All right, today felt like training camp.
It was the first day where it was hot, the pads were on. It did feel like training camp.
It definitely did. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast. Reuben, Frank, Dave, Zangaro. It was a steamy day in South Philadelphia, and this was the first day in full pads. The other day was just shoulder pads and shorts. So, that's the way camp goes. They ramp up. They're never going to go live in these practices, which means tackle to the ground, but they will go thud. And today was a green day, one of those full go practices, and probably the most intense so far of camp.
Yeah, I thought so. And I'll tell you what, they're not technically tackling to the ground, but that goal line drill was really physical, and guys were on the ground. And I guess technically they weren't being tackled to the ground, but when you're running goal line, it's kind of hard not to, end up in a pile. So I thought that was really good physical work there. It was a good drill. And to start off things, it's funny because you get there. We walk down. Practice officially starts at 10. We do interviews at 9:30 with the coach or one of the coaches. We usually walk down around 9. And it's like, wow, it's cool today. And then by
No, I felt it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Usually, it's cool, but and then it gets hotter. But today it was like, all right, it's 9 o'clock and it's already steamy. Yeah. But you know what? Thursday is going to be even worse.
Yeah, Thursday pushing 100 in Philly, and we'll see if that sticks. But it was one of those days where all the veterans walked out and went, "Ooh!" Like BG did it, Kelsey.
They went what?
Woo! The BG.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those days, and it's kind of what camp's supposed to feel like. I saw Jordan Mailata walk off the field after practice.
He was gassed.
Didn't look good. I mean, and it's just he's a big guy, like 350 plus pounds. In this heat, going as hard as he goes, it's not fun. I was standing next to Gary Cobb when he walked off. I was like, "Gee, you probably had those days." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's not fun to be in that situation."
Yeah, and they really, they do a great job monitoring these guys. They monitor their hydration levels. The days of no water till practice is over. Those days are long gone. They take good care of them. If guys are overheating, they get them off the field, get them hydrated. So they work them hard, but they're also careful with them.
Yep. Ready to talk some observations?
Let's do some obs.
Today was a fun day for observations, but as always, housekeeping first. 3 guys still on PUP list. Brett Toth, Richard Rodgers.
Such a creature of habit. It's unbelievable.
I really am. It's not all the time in my life, but definitely training camp. I get into my rhythm and flow here. Those 3 guys still on PUP. A few guys missed practice. Grant Calcaterra, Zach Pascal, Greg Ward, Mac McCain. The new guys, Greg Ward and Mac McCain, added to the list. Zach Pascal looked like he was going to practice. He was out there with the helmet.
That's a good sign.
Good sign after being in the hospital with food poisoning. So he's getting at least on the right track there.
Hopefully we see him Thursday at least do something.
That'd be good. I mean, that would be a good sign forward. I was saying, though, that these days are not the most ideal to come back from food poisoning when you've probably lost a lot of fluids and it's 95 to 100 degrees. They're going to take it slow with him. They have to.
Yeah. But it would be nice to see him do something.
Yeah. Mac McCain, kind of a surprise injury. A shame for him because he's really played pretty well and he's gotten the bulk of those second team reps opposite Zach McPherson. There's all those guys fighting for that job or one of those jobs. He kind of put himself at the front of that list, but now we got to see if he can get back off the injured list.
Yeah, it's an age-old thing. I mean, you can't make the club in the tub. It's a knee, so we don't really know how serious it is, but certainly not good for him. He has been, I think for the most part, he's played really well. Yeah. I think Zach McPherson is kind of pretty clearly at the top of the heap of that second group. But Mac has played well.
Yes. One thing I liked, and this didn't make my written observations, after practice, I was watching, and Slay does this a lot with the younger players, to go over stuff with them. Mac McCain on the field asking him questions after practice. I love to see that from a young player. They're not practicing, and it's so easy to be anywhere else in your mind, but he was so locked in. He's going over things with the veteran after. I really like that.
Yeah, that's great. I think you probably messed up by not putting that in your obs.
Maybe.
I think you should add it.
I like to have some stuff just for the listeners here.
Oh, an exclusive. An Eagle Eye exclusive.
Yeah, you like
there
that?
You go.
And it's a way for me to say that, not that I didn't screw up. A couple guys got hurt today or left practice early. I shouldn't say got hurt. Andre Dillard left toward the end of practice. Quiet. You haven't heard anything about Andre Dillard this camp. That's a good thing. He's been solid.
Yeah, he has.
He looks different.
He does. He looks like he looks like an NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Body composition has totally changed.
Yeah.
So much more strength.
Yeah. And I mean, he talked last year about doing that, and I think he was just too muscle bound last year. He just looks like a football player now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a bummer for him. He's played well. Got to get back out there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. The other one, Quez Watkins.
We don't know what the injury was, but I mean, he walked right past us. He wasn't limping. I don't think it was a lower body. I wouldn't think.
Didn't look like it.
I hate to speculate, but he wasn't limping. You know, he was walking fine. He even fist bumped a kid. He was walking into the tent who had some Dillard sign or something.
Someone had a Dillard sign?
Somebody had some kid. Yeah, I guess he's like the world's biggest Andre Dillard fan. He fist bumped the kid, went into the tent, and went right inside. But I would guess we'll find out. We'll find out Thursday morning what's up with him.
Mm-hmm. Quez Watkins left with an illness. Came back out to watch the end of practice. I don't want to speculate on the illness, but it's a hot day. That might have played some sort of role there.
You just did speculate that.
No.
You said, I don't want to speculate, and then you speculated that it was he.
I didn't say it was related. I said it was a hot day.
Well, that's kind of speculating.
No, that's leaving it in the listeners' hands. They can decide what they want to decide. I'm just reminding them that it was a hot day. I didn't speculate.
I think you did.
I intimated.
Fine. You intimated. What's next?
The highlight of the day, and I don't want to just focus on this one throw. We'll talk about it. Today was Jalen Hurts' best day of camp, and it's a really good sign for it to come on the most intense day, the first day in full pads. He looked really good.
I thought he looked really good. I thought he threw the ball well. First day, I mean, he was sharp, but that wasn't real practice. They were just kind of getting started. And he's been up and down since. He's had some good moments and bad moments, but I thought he was consistently good today. That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
He wasn't perfect, but he looked really comfortable and just really, really spun it.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
I think this is kind of an overarching idea with Hurts. You have to remember, like, if we're talking about one practice, we're talking about one practice. So if it's a great day or an awful day, it's one day. What you have to watch is the trends. You know, if it's 5 bad days in a row, well, then, yeah, I think there's a legitimate reason to be concerned. If it's up and down, I think that's more expected. Or if, he's lighting it up every day, that matters too. But it's just so easy for someone to read, oh, Jalen Hurts had a great day, he's going to be great this year. And it's just not that simple.
And the reverse as well.
Yeah.
If he has a bad day, that doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. If he has a great day, it doesn't mean he's a great quarterback. It's just a process. Yeah. And I would say, I mean, I generally don't live tweet just because of this exact thing. People just make too much of individual plays, and it's kind of fun. It's fun to see him and to, see him happen. And, it's when you start seeing him over and over and over, good plays or bad plays. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had a guy tell me Carson Strong can't play because he keeps sailing the ball out of bounds. In his very first NFL practice, he sailed the ball out of bounds, maybe a second. And I'm not saying he's been great, but my goodness, I mean, the guy's like, well, he obviously can't play just because he's reading that he threw a ball out of bounds. And we saw him sail that ball. It was like 8 yards out of bounds. But you're talking about a guy in his very first NFL practices as a rookie quarterback. And football's hard, and learning a new offense is hard. Having new coaches, having new teammates, having new receivers, you're having all this stuff thrown at you at once, and you're trying to process it, and it's all new to you. And to have an expectation that the guy's going to come in and be, Joe Montana on day one, it's crazy. So I would just take everything you read with a grain of salt. When you start seeing guys stack days, then you can start kind of drawing some conclusions.
Yeah, we're not there with Jalen Hurts. As some players, we are there. Like, I think we can confidently say at this point, TJ Edwards is having and I'm just picking him because he's the first guy that came to mind, is having a very good camp. Consistently every day making plays, doing nothing to suggest that he deserves to lose his spot. Like, things like that matter more than the ups and downs.
Right. And when you see, and also I think when you see a veteran guy, you have something to compare it with.
Mm-hmm.
We know we've seen TJ for a few years now,
and he's also not like veteran enough to not care, because there are some veterans. Let's be honest,
right?
Like they go through motions a little bit in
Yeah.
camp. That's fine.
Yeah, that's true. I feel that way about Bradbury. Not going through the motions, just that I feel really good about him as a player.
Consistency
based on the week. He's just a guy who just is solid, and you feel comfortable saying it because you see it every day. And Epps, I would say the same thing about Epps.
Mm-hmm.
He's just been so consistent. Now, the thing with him is, can he hold up that number of reps? But yeah. Anyway.
All right. So the play of the day that lets us all know Jalen Hurts is going to be a Pro Bowler was the. It was a beautiful deep ball to Jalen Reagor, who was actually out there because Quez Watkins left the field. It was a perfect pass. Reagor kind of split the defenders, estimating like 35, 40 yards in the air.
Yeah, I'd say 40 to 45.
Yeah, and it went, 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful play. And
I think McPherson was in coverage.
Sasha was over that. It was one of those periods where they went ones versus twos, which they've been mixing in more this year for whatever reason. But it was a great play, and it wasn't the only deep ball Hurts threw.
It was a beautiful ball.
It was a beautiful ball. And that's the thing with Hurts. Like, his arm strength has been questioned. He has plenty of arm strength on those balls. I mean, there are moments where it looks like he doesn't have the arm strength. And I really think a lot of those issues are timing. If the ball's out a half second late, it's going to look underthrown. Right. There's such a fine line in this league when you're throwing those passes that you have to hit it on schedule. And if you don't, it's going to be underthrown, especially when you have speedsters like this team has.
I'm having flashbacks of another era. Yeah, that's true. I've never questioned his arm strength. Mm-hmm. He's got a strong enough arm to play in the NFL. There's no question about it.
Yeah. It was funny because early in practice, like I watched the quarterbacks warm up. Sometimes it'll give you a little hint of what you're going to get that day, because they'll just have a bad day. You'll have an off day. And early in practice, I thought it was going to be an off day for Hurts because I was watching him and he was sailing some pretty simple throws across the middle, just getting away from him. And then he really settled in.
He had one early to Goddard that was like
sailed it.
Yeah, he sailed it. And I was thinking the same thing. It's going to be one of those days. But the next one to Goddard was right on the numbers, and then he was locked in the rest of the day.
Yeah, the one-on-ones were fun to watch today. 3 straight throws through to Devontae Smith, through to Quez Watkins, through to A.J. Brown. It was Devontae versus James Bradbury. It was Quez Watkins versus Avonte Maddox. And it was A.J. Brown versus Darius Slay. All three completions, long completions from Hurts. So that was a heck of a way to start.
Yeah. And, this is not unusual. I mean, I think he's got he just looked more comfortable today. Maybe getting the pads on, maybe he's just more comfortable. Maybe it was more intense, certainly. But yeah, that was a good stretch for him. The mid-range ball I thought was really, really good today.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I have it in my written obs too. We talked about it yesterday. A slant to A.J. Brown. That's going to be it's such a simple play, such a simple route, but it has so much potential in this offense because you have to worry about the other guys. There are other players who are going to warrant attention. And A.J. Brown is so good with the ball in his hands that you can consistently hit that route. You're going to have big plays, and they've done it now back-to-back days. Very encouraging.
Yeah, I thought he threw that well today, that slant. And A.J. Brown's such a good matchup. It's a high percentage throw that can potentially get you 15, 20 yards. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be a huge part of what they do.
Yeah. A.J. Brown's fun to watch.
He is.
We're seeing it over the course of a week now. He makes plays. He is a special kind of player. Like, not a lot of guys are that big and that fast and have the yard after catch ability that he has.
Yeah, and he's not – I think we might have made this point the other day, but he's just not like other receivers they've had. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not a burner.
He's fast, though.
He's fast.
Did you see that video he posted with Elijah Moore?
No.
They were, like, racing. And Elijah Moore is a legit 4'3" guy. A.J. Brown was neck and neck with him.
Really?
He's fast.
He's fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he's not fast. He's fast enough. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't think when you watch him, that's not the number one thing that strikes you.
No, it's his size and his ability to use his body.
Yeah.
But he's also like we saw that with Alshon a little bit, but Alshon didn't have the burners anymore.
Yeah.
Early in his career, he did.
I think that might be a good comp early, like Chicago Bears Alshon, like 2014 Alshon.
Yeah, but I think AJ's better with the ball in his hands. Like they can design screenplays for him. They can give him the ball on sweep like they did in this practice. There are so many different ways. And I asked Nick Sirianni about this earlier in camp about like how much are you designing plays for AJ Brown? He said, well, we design plays for all our players. Sure, Nick. But he's the type of player that you go into each game saying these plays are just let's get him involved early. Let's get him the ball and let him create.
Yeah, and I think it opens up the playbook because there's things he does that no one else really does on his team.
I'm going to talk about Jalen Reagor. I didn't want to skip over him because it was a great play. He's had some ups and downs in this camp. I thought he started off really strong against the 2s and 3s. He had a bad day. He had some bad plays on Monday. Can we get into it?
Yeah.
A little bit what happened?
Yeah.
So our colleague John Clark tweeted what happened at practice, and I was just disappointed to see Jalen Reagor clap back at it on Twitter. Well, I didn't see it. I had to.
Yeah, we can't see Jalen Reagor's tweets. Why is that, Dave?
Yeah, he blocked us. Blocked all the writers. I don't care about that. I just at this point in his career, I just feel like he's his own worst enemy at times. There's gonna be criticism, and like Clarky is not like some negative Nancy that is like I'm gonna pick on Jalen Reagor today. He tweeted out what happened on the field from his perspective, and it was just disappointing to see now a third-year player going on social media after practice, either searching for his name or seeing someone tag him and then seeking it out to say something. And look, I generally have no problem with a player defending himself against something he sees unfair, but Jalen Reagor, at this point, man, like, what are you doing to yourself?
And two things came to mind. First, like when Jalen had some good days earlier in camp, John Clark was the first person to tweet it. I mean,
no one's rooting against Jalen Reagor.
No, you're right. And John, nobody's more fair than John and more balanced than John. And John and Jalen has talked about this. He said, I got to get off. I know I have to get off social media. It's a distraction. I can't have any distractions in my life. I have to be totally focused on football. I'm not going to pay attention to that stuff anymore. I mean, he said that to us. And then he does that. He's got to get past that. I mean, that's just he doesn't. And he deleted it. They always delete it, but not before everyone screenshotted it and tweeted that out. So. What's he thinking? I mean, he's not helping himself, and there's nothing that John tweeted that was wrong.
No, I mean, I guess so. Basically, what John, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have it in front of me, but he basically said, on a series
of John blocked you too, so you can't see this.
On a series of plays, Reagor dropped a pass, and then right after that, got out muscled for a pass breakup that ended up in an interception. I think maybe that's what Reagor took exception to was the idea that he got muscled out. But what a stupid thing to get worked up about. Yeah, it's just frustrating because like we see flashes, and I think he has some talent, but
he needs his full attention on football. And he doesn't.
At what point does Big Dom go and steal his phone? Just take it from him like a little kid in the classroom.
Yeah, I know. I think his first 2 years. He had a huge margin for error. He wasn't going to get cut. He's a first round pick. I think now at this point in his career, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have a margin for error.
Nick Sirianni even said he's fighting for a roster spot.
Fighting for a roster spot.
And that's right. He is.
So all his attention, all his focus, all his energy has to be on trying to make the football team. And when you're tweeting to John Clark that you're upset about, his tweet, it's not your energy and your focus are not on where they should be. So that's a concern.
I'm with you. Like I said, no one's rooting against him. We're just telling you what we're seeing. And today, he made a great play. It was a great play. He tracked the ball. It was a perfect pass. And
then he got in John Clark's face. He was like, you.
That did not happen.
That was me. I actually did that.
All right. So this is always a tough decision for me during practice because 7-on-7s happen at the same time. as the offensive line, defensive line one-on-ones. Guess where I went again today? I couldn't help myself. I went one-on-ones. Yeah. I will eventually go back to 7-on-7s, but
it's good to hear.
Yeah.
You're really waiting that.
You were worried about that. It wasn't as exciting a period. Jordan Davis didn't just wreck people in this one. The first
reps, though.
Yeah, he had some good reps. The first rep overall, though, was Isaac Seumalo against Fletcher Cox. Isaac held his own. Isaac looks solid.
Yeah, he does.
He's their starting right guard, and that we kind of questioned it coming in. No questions. 5 days in, he's the guy.
Yeah, just you're hoping he holds up physically, and I mean he's in a new position, so give him credit for where he is. I'm not sure at this point in his career Fletcher is putting everything he has into those one-on-ones.
You're probably right about that.
But Isaac does look really good.
In Fletcher's, not even his prime, probably before his prime, he was fun to watch in those because he was really going after it. Like, rookie Fletcher Cox was fun. Yeah. But Jordan Davis had some good reps. He went up against Kelsey. Kelsey was able to use his leverage and stop him. And then poor William Dunkel, the undrafted kid.
I like your choice of words. I laughed at that. It sounded like something out of Shakespeare. Poor William Dunkel.
Yeah. I mean, this guy, he's fighting to stick in this league, and he's got to deal with Jordan Davis. Can't be fun.
Poor William Dunkel. What's that from? Macbeth?
I don't know.
Alas, poor William Dunkel.
I'm not a big Shakespeare guy.
Really?
Nah.
Oh, you're missing out. That dude, man, he could write.
Do you believe it was all him?
No.
Because there's like, he.
I think ESP was part of it. He was doing some ghostwriting. No, I don't know enough. I know
there weren't enough emojis. That's so sorry, Elliot.
If Shakespeare used emojis, that'd be a good sign. It was Elliot. I was in Hamlet in high school.
Oh yeah,
I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
What part?
I was Polonius.
Okay. Yeah. Doesn't mean much to me.
Yet here Laertes, aboard, for shame. The wind sits in the shoulder of your sail, and you are stayed for. But wait, let me give you some advice. Anyway, I remember my lines.
Yeah, it's impressive. You missed out on the career.
Alas, poor William Dunkel.
It's not all football. Jordan Mailata, Josh Sweat. These guys have. I asked Josh Sweat about it after.
That's a good storyline. I like that. That was fun.
They've been battling each other now for 5 years, and to think about how far they've both come. Yeah. I mean, Mailata we all know his story, but Sweat too. He was a 4th-round pick who basically had a redshirt year as a rookie, and now they're both like 2 of their best players, and they're still going up against each other in practice. It's fun.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. And Josh is funny. I love talking to Josh because, like, it's not as much what he says as like just kind of how he laughs. He just kind of laughs and shakes his head and says one word. But he made the point that 5 years ago I was going up against Jordan and we both sucked. He basically said we were both really bad. Yeah. And he just started laughing. And now he's a Pro Bowler and Jordan Mailata's, he should be a Pro Bowler. So, and Josh said, he took a little credit for how far Jordan has come. And I'm sure Jordan would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, if you asked him. So that was a neat moment here, hearing him talk about how far they both come.
Yeah. Right after the one-on-ones, we saw some 2-on-2s, and they were working on some games up front. The first one, Lane Johnson and Isaac Seumalo together. It's funny because they've been teammates now for 5-6 years?
7 years.
Holy cow, 7 years. Because Seumalo came in 16, yeah. But they really haven't played next to each other. So this
one game, I think, his rookie year, Seumalo started at right.
Yeah.
Right guard.
So this is like their first chance to really learn how to play with one another.
Didn't play in that game.
And they handled a Fletcher Cox Hassan Reddick rush really well. They passed it off. Their timing was perfect. And then on the flip side of that, we saw Sweat and Hargrave kind of hand it to Mailata and Dickerson on the other side. It was a tackle end stunt. So tackle pushed, Looper came around, and they got there. They were a little late passing it off. So those are really fun, seeing offensive linemen figure that out together. And those are about as good of battles as you can get in training camp.
What do you think of Sweat this summer?
It's looked good. Had a big sack today.
Yeah. I've never been a huge Sweat guy, but
he's so talented.
I mean, it's there.
yeah.
But
I've been a fan of his just because like he's unique because he's so long. Like that stab can set up so much, and he's gotten way more powerful. He has a bull now. He I hate to use the cliche, but he's adding tools to that toolbox. He has coming in, you're thinking like this is a skinny little kid who's got to rely on his speed, but at this point, he has some moves. He has legit pass rush moves.
Yeah, I'm curious to see whether he can, transfer the improvements he made into production, and can he be a double-digit sack guy? Yeah, he's got the ability. Let's see him do it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. What else we got? We don't have to go through all these. Oh, let's talk about the goal line period early in practice. Yeah. And it really like the defense won. I mean, they won every rep, but then the offense, I was impressed by the way they came back later in practice. It was a weird group of plays. It was how they started practice, but the defense stopped them on every single play, except the one was tough to tell because they got the ball to AJ Brown on a sweep, and he's 1-on-1 against TJ Edwards in a game that's probably a touchdown.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that rep would have been a touchdown.
Yeah. Everything else was short.
The Miles Sanders drop, he probably would have been in. It was close.
I couldn't get a good read on that angle.
It was on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
But I thought the defense.
That was the first play. Miles dropped the ball, which is,
We see that.
Yeah, it was funny. I thought he was really smooth last year, and he had worked on it. I thought he caught the ball really well. This year, he had a triple catch on day one where he bobbled the ball and brought it in. This was a drop. As hard as he's running this year, camp, and I legitimately think he's running better than I've ever seen him run. I know he's working on it. It's probably really frustrating for him that the hands just aren't as natural as he'd like them to be.
It's a weird deal because he caught 50 passes as a rookie,
including
some really difficult ones.
Yeah. There were some wheel routes where he's like 30 yards downfield catching it over his shoulder, like receiver catches.
I mean, the one in the end zone, I forget who's it against from
Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
On Monday Night Football, right?
I think it was, yeah.
That was an incredible play by the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback made a nice throw.
No? Not going to say it?
Yeah, Carson Wentz.
All right. How about let's talk about the backup corners. Zach McPherson, we talked about him earlier, had a tremendous play. And I did find out, Rube.
Yeah.
It was out of bounds.
Who told you that?
McManus.
Okay.
He was on the sideline. Yeah.
Yeah, we both thought it was an INT.
Yeah, why didn't he clearly caught it, and the referee. Well, I should probably tell these guys what we're talking about. It was I guess it was just a go from Hightower. McPherson had him locked up, kind of mirrored the route, went up, high pointed the ball, brought it down, and we're like, he caught the ball. The ref ruled incomplete. And we're like, well, I guess he's right there, but that ball didn't hit the ground. Apparently, he landed out of bounds.
Yeah, we couldn't tell from where we were, but it was a great play.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Hightower could have been a little more aggressive. That's not really his thing.
Yeah, it is tough though when I agree with you, but it's on that route. It's not like he's coming back to the ball anyway, so it's tough to stop your momentum and then come back for it.
I thought he caught it. I thought Hightower had it initially.
It was tough to tell who caught it, who came down with it.
Yeah, but I think the big takeaway from that rep was that it was great coverage. I mean, Hightower's fast. Mm-hmm. That's one thing he is. And McPherson was right there.
McPherson's aggressive.
Yeah, he really is.
Aggressive, good ball skills, twitched up a little bit.
He's got some long arms.
Yeah. A little attack. If he was like a couple inches taller, he might have been a third-round pick.
Yeah, I would think so.
5'11".
Yeah. He's had a good camp.
Yeah, he really has.
I mean, I don't remember him doing any of this stuff last year in camp.
Yeah. He was probably swimming a little bit.
Yeah. Slay said he worked with him all off season.
That'll help.
He just spent a lot of time with him, and he said the kid just is a sponge and wanted to learn, and he's using those lessons well.
The rest of all those cornerbacks who are fighting for jobs. I've told you before, I'm a big fan of Tay Gowan, but a little handsy. He's aggressive, almost to a point where it's too far. He got called for another DPI today.
Well, it's funny. We're standing there. I think we were standing in the end or behind the end zone at that point, and you're like, man, take out and really, really he's too handsy. And just then he just got called for a PI.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
He intercepted the ball.
Yeah, he did.
But he also threw the receiver to the ground.
Yes, he did.
I like him. I like the aggressiveness. He's got to tone it back a little bit.
You would think.
Nakobe Dean got his first team reps. It's been a really quiet camp for him. He's learning 2 positions, and the other linebackers in front of him are playing really well. So he hasn't flashed, and they have flashed. So he's a little bit buried right now. And we've talked about how much we expect him to play. I'm not changing that yet, but it was good to see him at least get some first team reps.
Yeah, I think the equation has changed maybe a little bit because Davion and TJ have been so good.
And Kaiser too has been
Kaiser's been really good too. So I think Nakobe's going to play, but I know I made a statement probably a couple months ago that Nakobe would have the most reps out of all the linebackers when all is said and done.
Walking it back a little bit?
I might walk that back a little bit.
I'm not ready to do that yet.
Yeah, maybe not. I think TJ's been the best linebacker in camp.
100%.
And I just think he's going to be on the field.
Yeah, and he's earning it.
Yeah, no doubt. The one thing I wanted to add was I know you didn't have a chance to get over there. They worked running back, linebacker, blitz pickup drill.
Oh yeah.
Which was
that's always a fun drill.
Really fun to watch.
Sometimes we have tough decisions during practice because that was probably during O-line, D-line, right?
It was. The one thing that really jumped out at me was Kenny Gainwell was really solid in that area. And actually, I had asked Shane Steichen about that after practice. I had a second to ask him about it. And he said he's just improved so much. And he did great. I mean, he was really good.
You don't have to be a big guy.
Yeah.
To get in the way.
Yeah.
Look at Sproulsy. And Sproles obviously built like a tree trunk from the waist down. But, you just got to get in the way, and sometimes being shorter helps.
Yeah, and the big lesson that Jamel Singleton was giving these guys that you don't have to knock this guy down. You just it's a good thing if you use his speed and misdirect him past the quarterback, and by the time he stops and turns around and starts coming back, the ball's going to be gone.
Yeah, that's not super different from a lot of tackles. Use your rusher speed against him, get him wide. Yeah. By the time he gets back and loops around, the play's done.
Yeah. So that was a fun drill. And he was the one guy that jumped out at me. What's his name? Brooks. What's Brooks' first name?
Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy Brooks. He did a nice job on those two.
Bigger guy.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Probably 205, 210.
Yeah. So you would expect that. Miles had a couple good reps, a couple not so great reps, and Boston's pretty good at that. Yeah. But Gainwell was
Boston has that Sproles build.
Yeah. Gainwell was
my favorite moment with Sproles. I think I told this on here a long time ago. He got called once for a chop block, and I was talking, and he got fined. Couldn't believe he got fined. He got called for and fined. I'm talking to him outside the NovaCare complex. He's like, "What am I supposed to do? I'm short." he got called for a chop block against this big rusher. He's like, yeah. I went low, but I can't go high. What do you want me to do? I always loved joking around with him about that stuff. Natural leverage, as Jim Schwartz used to say about Stephen Tulloch.
Yeah, Stephen Tulloch. God, there's a name.
That's all my observations we have to get to.
Mike Mamula was there today. It was good to see
him. Was he?
Yeah, he was a practice.
Mike Mayock was there today.
Was Mike there? Mm-hmm. Billy Hess. Remember Billy Hess from Westchester?
I won't know, but I remember you telling me Billy Hess was like a camp darling.
He sure was for 3 straight camps.
Okay. Yeah. See, when I did that list of players, I went to you, and Billy Hess was one of the ones you brought up.
Is that right? Yeah, he was there. Always good to see those guys.
It's always fun to see who comes out for camp. We've had Vic Fangio, Mayock, a few former players.
Jason Avant was there today as well.
Oh, was he? I didn't see Jason.
He was there.
Okay. Where was he?
He was in that autograph thing in the entrance.
Oh, he was the alumni guy?
Yeah, he was out of practice for a few
minutes. He's always a fun guy to watch practice with.
Yeah. Yeah, really cerebral.
I love kind of, sidling up to someone and picking their brain a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a good one to do that with.
Yeah, he is.
Anything else from practice that you want to talk about?
No, I think you got it covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, it was a fun day. It really felt like training camp.
It was a green day.
It was a green
We
day.
said that.
How about afterwards? We talked to a bunch of players. Let's talk about Jalen Hurts talked to us after practice. We talked about it walking away from the field. I think I might have gotten the best quote out of Jalen Hurts we've heard in a while.
Maybe ever.
It was a good one. So I was,
and it was context. It meant something.
Yeah. So him and AJ Brown. I'm working on a story. No secrets here about their relationship and how it's growing now that they're teammates. And he said it's not talking about a specific route, right? He said it's not about how he sees it. It's not about how I see it. It's about how we see it. What a profound statement. And you were joking. It probably came from Alabama.
Yeah, Bama.
From Bama.
But it's really it's such a great way of looking at the game, or anything. Mm-hmm. It's a great way of looking at anything. It should be on like a shirt or something.
It probably is.
Billboard. Maybe that's where he got it. But yeah, it's not about the me or the you. It's about the us, and that's a really mature outlook.
Yeah. Anything else from his press conference that stuck out?
I mean, I was kind of he talked about just how much better looks the defense is giving the offense, mm-hmm. just how hard they have to work to make plays now, which wasn't necessarily the case last year. Obviously, the offense is more advanced, but the defense really is. I mean, they're so active in the back seven and or back eight sometimes, but the linebackers and but especially the D-backs are just getting their hands on balls. And
I think having veteran cornerbacks really changes the dynamic there.
Yeah,
I guess they had it last year, but they were learning a new defense.
Yeah,
as a unit.
Bradbury is a different level than the veteran cornerback they had last year.
We're not allowed to say Steven Nelson. You just gave him the Wentz treatment there.
No, I just
the cornerback from last year, war number 3.
I didn't have the energy to say Steven Nelson. But and the safeties too. I mean, I haven't seen Anthony Harris make a play. Have you seen him make a play?
No.
Epps is all over the place. Kayvon hasn't really made a whole lot of plays. How about Tart?
Yeah, give him a pass.
Yeah.
Learn the defense, working with the second team.
Yeah, Epps has really stood out in that position. Mm-hmm. But I think the offense is definitely getting challenged more, and that's good. That's good for them. And Jalen, that's basically what Jalen said.
The only other thing from Jalen I wanted to bring up, he was talking about practice, and he was asked about, do you care about practice the way you would care about your mistakes in the game, or are you out here? This is something we talked about on one of these million podcasts we've done this week about practice and how it can be used to try things. And he said that, sometimes, practice is practice. It's not a game. We try things, and if it doesn't work, we take it out. And he kind of likened it to during the week when they're installing the game plan and see how things look. If this play doesn't work, they're not going to run it on Sunday. And it's a little different when you're talking about like decision making and making the throws in practice. But I get his point that the product on the practice field is not always necessarily the product in a game. And you're always hear about you want to practice the way you play. I think in a lot of ways that's true, but sometimes those situations are used to figure out what you can and can't do.
Yeah, to me, that whole practice the way you play is more about intensity and focus and just what you're putting into it. But I think every quarterback is going to try to make throws in practice that they might not make it in game to see if they can do it. Can I get the ball in this window? And I think sometimes some of us, present coming excluded, tend to forget that when they're tweeting out about interceptions or if it's a bad decision, that's one thing, but you don't know exactly what that rep is and what they're trying to accomplish on that rep. And so you just have to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah. Anything else from the media sessions that stood out to you?
No. I had a nice chat with J-Jaw about the transition he's making to tight end. Got a great outlook. He's a good kid. He's working hard. I mean, he does have an advantage that, they got some tight ends banged up. Calcaterra is out. Richard Rodgers is out.
Tyree
Jackson's out. So, he's
plenty of reps to go around.
There's plenty of reps. You see Noah to go is getting a lot of reps. So, he's got a great outlook on it, great attitude. And, we'll talk more about that later in the week.
Good. Talk to Brandon Graham again.
Yeah.
Always fun.
Yeah. He had a great quote today. I just was listening again to him. He was talking. He's 34 now. He's in his 12th year, 13th year, 13th, right? Yeah, 2010, whatever you want to call it. And he's the energy
2001 0.
He's the energy guy. He always has been. And he said, sometimes like he knows that people are looking to him for that, and they feed off it. And when it's hot, it's late in practice. He's the guy that's bringing that energy. And he said sometimes it's fake. He said, sometimes I don't have it, but I have to fake it until it comes for real because these guys are looking at me. And can you imagine being on the defense and Brandon Graham's just kind of standing around
yeah.
And he really understands that that's like a big part of his role now. No, he's not. I mean, he's out there with the second team and he's not the BG of old but he's still got the attitude and the energy. And I really appreciate that about him.
Yeah. I asked Josh Sweat about that. If he's ever seen BG have an off day, and never.
Yeah.
Never. It tells you how consistent he brings that.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's unique. He's a unique guy. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone who's always so, just up. Who's always on. That switch is always on.
Yeah. I mean, the infectious smile thing, like so real with him.
Yeah. It really is.
It's hard to be in a bad mood when he's around. And I'm sure, like, if we're feeling that, imagine, like, being his close buddies in a locker room. Like, that, it really has to rub off.
They do the interviews behind a lectern on a riser. What is it, about maybe 15 inches off the ground? And BG I was standing there, BG's like climbing down. He's like, man, this gets harder every year to get down from this thing. He's like, oh, be really careful these days.
Yeah, we got to watch out for him and Kelsey getting off that thing.
Yeah. I have to put in some little stairs or something.
A little ramp.
And I feel like we're so lucky. I mean, just us, everyone who follows the Eagles, to have BG, Kelsey, and Fletch, who've been here. They've been together for a decade. The only trio of teammates in the NFL that's been together that long. Yeah. And they're all-time Eagles. They all have won a championship, and they're all still, to different levels, still good players. And they're not going to be here much longer.
Yeah.
And enjoy them while they're here.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I appreciate them.
All right. That's it for the Eagle Eye Podcast. If you enjoy it, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Walk through on Wednesday, back on the practice field Thursday. If Reuben and I have any energy left, we will.
It's going to be hot.
It's going to be hot. We will do a pod after Thursday's practice. Whatever.
You get a break from us tomorrow.
You get a break from us tomorrow, but whatever hasn't melted away, we'll do a podcast on Thursday afternoon. We'll talk to you then.